so much for clicking onto this video, and if you've clicked onto this video, get excited because we are talking about debunking some curly myths. This isn't a trendy TikTok video of trying to get likes and engagement. This is actually getting right down to the science of it and busting some things, because there are a lot of things that said online because people just want clicks on their videos, and we're here to put an end to all that. So Nick, what I love about you, you are the founder of Cabela and the cosmetic scientist behind the brand, and you actually studied cosmetic science in order to start your brand because there wasn't anything out there, and instead of kind of just researching ingredients or hiring a chemist who has no specialty in curls, you've actually got the specialty in curls but then studied as well, and that obviously ended up delaying the launch of your brand. But that's why, you know, you've been around for 4 years, but you've actually been around way longer because there's so much that no one saw.
Yes, there's always a lot of lead up in the making of a startup business particularly, but what we found is when we were exploring chemists that they couldn't really nail the brief because they didn't have curls themselves. Also, when you go through a process like that, you tend to be limited to 3 to 6 samples. I think of my gels, I get into the hundreds of samples to nail it, you know, and to get better, to make sure it works for the majority of curly hair. I went back, I was working a full-time job, had 2 kids, one including a 1-year-old, but wanted to retrain and really nail our formulas so that we could own our intellectual property, create what we wanted to create, and know exactly what is going to work on what types of curls.
What I love though is that last night at dinner, my dad asked her about her brand, and he was so shocked that she went back to school as an adult to study. And then Nick's response was, yeah, but I was working at the same time, like as if that makes it easier. I love that you did that, because it's actually not a quick fix. It's not a, oh, curly, like let's get into the fun and the emotions of it. It's actually something that's sustainable and long term, and actually putting value out into the community rather than just put some avocado oil in your sink. What are your thoughts on DIY hair masks? Getting a bit of yogurt, a bit of an egg, a bit of banana, mixing it all up?
I mean, like food is expensive these days. I think that yogurt and the egg will be better for your hair if you eat it and put the protein in your body rather than on the top of your hair. One, bacteria, it's not designed for your hair, like, yeah, I don't know. In some climates it might attract bees, like honey and sticky. Yeah.
I wish I didn't ask that question now.
Yogurt in the hair.
Yeah. But it doesn't penetrate, that's the thing.
That is the thing. Yeah. It doesn't penetrate. You know, when we talk about proteins, if you're thinking, oh, an egg is a protein treatment, well, it has to be small enough to be like 50,000 Daltons, like teeny tiny to get through those gaps in the cuticle. And egg's not doing anything like that. It's sitting, and at $1 each, I think you're better off eating it and letting your body absorb it. Yeah.
Glycerin and humidity. Let's talk about that, because you did touch on about glycerins cancelling themselves out. So should we go anti-glycerin? Should we go pro? What are your thoughts?
I'm pro-glycerin. I think it's, again, one of those things that have been inferenced off a label that hasn't been well interpreted. Often if people don't like glycerin, I think it's because the formula might not be right or well balanced. So a lot of glycerin is used particularly in stylers to help plasticize the polymers, so what's giving the hold, but to give it more flexibility. There's also a really good study that glycerin helps the health of the hair because it is able to penetrate like water, so it gives it more flexibility, which leads to less breakage, so the hair's not breaking off in general day life and restyling.
Yeah, that's great.
There is a lot of, you know, talk about, oh, well, if this has glycerin in it, it's going to bring everything in from the, you know, if you're in a humid environment, it's going to bring it in. I mean, yes, but that's where the formula needs to be right. So if you're having problems with glycerin and poofing going out, then it's probably not the right formula for you.
Yeah. So not anti-glycerin, it's the whole formula.
It's the whole formula. You can't reduce. It's kind of like reducing a cake to saying, oh, well, it's got an egg in it, you know, or picking a particular thing. Overall, it's how the cake all goes together, which is whether it's going to taste good or not.
Absolutely, and that's where it gets so easy to kind of demonize those words, protein, glycerin.
That's it.
But there's so much more to it, and the cake example is perfect.
Absolutely.
No one's going to say, I'm never touching an egg again.
Yes, so, exactly.
But I understand it's easy with so much confusion in the curly world to then be like, oh, it's safer, I don't want to waste my money, so therefore I'm going to do this. But then you can end up wasting your money, because then you're on this hunt for products that aren't going to work because they're not for you, and it just ticks a box that you think it's right, but it's not even right for you. The risk of mixing brands, we get a lot of girls coming to us and they're saying, you know, I need help, nothing works, and they're using 5 different brands.
Yeah.
And I know what they've done. They've bought one product, didn't work, so they buy another one from a different brand because they think, oh no, not that one. They're using them together, and it just ends up creating a whole mess. So why is it best to reduce mixing the brands?
Yeah, absolutely, because usually from a brand that's they recommend a whole system, and it's not just because they want to make money and bring it all the way in.
I would get so angry about that. When I was younger, I'd read like the shampoo bottle. I'm like, stuff you, I'm not buying your conditioner just because you tell me to.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit bigger than that. Often it's because it's either the charges in between the products or the polymer network. So you may have seen people on TikTok or whatever, YouTube, mixing a cream and a gel and seeing if it goes together and if it sort of curdles. And in effect, what's happening is the polymers that hold those two products together, think of them like opposite batteries, and so they're repelling and making it unstable. When you put that on your hair, then it's going to be flaking, it's not going to hold, it's just going to be a disaster. It's sort of the same thing when you mix products on your skin as well. If you've ever had like pilling, you put one product in another hair, it's sort of that same type of effect. The other thing that can affect things is the charge, particularly with stylists, and this is where a lot of people get tripped up. Gums like xanthan gum or xanthan gum based gels carry a negative charge. So if you're putting that on top of a cream or a conditioner that has a positive charge, so it actually has a conditioning ability, that is also going to create that opposites don't go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so hard. I understand it is so hard to know all these things. That's why whenever we're talking to people, we'll try and recommend all from the same brand if they have what they need. But or we'll give like a little disclaimer like, this would be great and this would be great, maybe try the travel sizes first to see if they mix well.
Absolutely.
Because that's something that we hate seeing, and it's something we see all the time.
Really? Yeah.
Every day, multiple people every single day.
Really?
I'm using this, and we're like, you gotta sort it all out. You can't, it's just not working. And especially it's always the heavy products too. Well, the really heavy ones.
This is the other thing. Some curl creams aren't necessarily conditioning. Like traditional curl creams are often just an emulsion, so held together with non-ionic, so no charge, but then they might be laden with oils on them. So they're really just weighing the hair down rather than conditioning. Something like that could have a xanthan based gum on it because you've got no conditioning residue, but it's going to feel really heavy and yuck because it's so laden with oils and butters, and eventually it may lead to dehydration. So it's really important to check with an expert like yourself to know what works, or stick with the same system, because then you're going to have no issues.
And that's where you have the classic case of big boardroom of curly people. We need to create a range for them. Let's stick the word curly, let's put some oils, let's do this, and it's doing nothing. If anything, it's making our hair worse. Protein sensitive / overload, myth or real? What are your thoughts?
This is a doozy. It's a little bit of both. I think it does exist, but not in the same way. I've experienced it myself, so I know it does exist, but a lot of it is to do with how tight your texture is and how compact your cuticle is. People who don't need support from proteins already have enough structure in their curl, but in saying that, that doesn't mean all proteins for them are bad. Some proteins create a beautiful shine, but effectively what they do is they help create a film on the hair, on the cuticle. So some sit on outside just like a conditioner, but some can penetrate in. And I believe those people that don't need that support, if they've got a high protein product or something that can penetrate the cuticle, that's where you get that dry, brittle feeling. Whereas someone with finer texture that likes that little bit of structure and likes that little bit of grit and support, they'll love it. Again, this is all about not reducing, unfortunately, this is about not reducing a label down to simplified ingredients, but finding advice about what products work for your kind of hair type.
And not all proteins are equal as well. That's the interesting thing.
That's right. There can be really expensive glossy ones down to really structurally supporting ones.
Cold water rinse to seal the cuticle.
Bit of a myth. I think observationally some people really like that cold water rinse and they can see that shine come on the hair, particularly from a hairdresser's point of view in the basin. Don't really think it's necessary. The cuticle's not like a revolving door. It doesn't open and close willy-nilly. So it may bring down, it may reduce, like that cold water may temporarily sort of reduce the degree of lift of the cuticle. It may seem like that, but ultimately what's sealing the cuticle and bringing it down is that conditioning element. Conditioner tends to have a lower pH, so in the range of 4 to 4.5, and so that positive charge and that pH helps seal the cuticle down, and that's really what's doing the heavy lifting. So if you're not a fan of cold water on your back at the end of your shower, I wouldn't really bother.
Hygral fatigue, which is basically where people are wetting their hair every single day, really full wet down, and it's almost wet all the time because they're just wetting it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I would start by sort of thinking, why do you want it wet? Is it to reform the clumps? I would probably be looking at then there's perhaps a lack of hold in your products first thing. Your hair doesn't need to be really wet every day. Will it cause you damage? It's really a personal preference. The science is a little bit iffy on it. There is papers saying yes, but hygral fatigue's not really well defined in the scientific community. There are studies that say air drying your hair and leaving it wet for a long time does create damage to the cuticle, but then those studies have also been criticised by their peers because the methodology wasn't perfect. So there is no consensus on that, but overall, I would rather people focus on why they're wetting their hair rather than worrying about the damage. I would think about if you're needing it to wet it every day to help reform curl clumps, you're probably not using the right products that you need, and you're not using sleep protection to keep your curl shape. Yeah.
And what about using an oil to define curls?
Oh, oil's not the best for defining curls. There's a long history of using oils, obviously traditionally in traditional communities, but they haven't had access to what we have now. Water and oil don't go together, and you need water to form those beautiful curl clumps. So ultimately, if you're constantly lathering your hair with oil, your hair is going to become dry and dehydrated over time, and you have to use the harshest of surfactants to remove it off.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you, Nick, for being here. Now, if you have any questions, Nick and I, we got some plans happening. So comment them below, your most hardcore questions, anything. Comment it, because we're here to make stuff happen. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you so much for saving me in the salon with your products, because so many people come in and their hair's flat and mushy, and like moisturizing isn't going to help them. They need grip, they need structure. So thank you.
You're so
where
welcome.
would my salon be without you?
You're so kind. Thank you so much.